Welcome to The Blue Dot, Northern Kentucky's premier political podcast, brought to you by the Kenton County Democratic Executive Committee. Welcome back to The Blue Dot podcast. Today we're wrapping up 2025, a year that felt like a decade in politics. From Trump being sworn in, to ICE, to tariffs, to grassroots movements shaking up the status quo. We've got a lot to unpack with this one.
Yeah, that's for sure. Grab your coffee or something stronger because this year was wild. And we can't think of anyone we'd rather review this year with, for sure, than the one and only Mamaw from Mamaw's Porch and Politics. Mamaw, thanks for coming back and chatting with us.
Oh, I had a ball. Love to. Thank you.
Well, the first 19 days of the year kind of felt like a death march. We just couldn't stop because we knew the 20th was coming, right? And then it happened. Donald Trump became the 47th president. So, Mamaw, looking back at the beginning of the year, how do you think it all turned out? Better, worse, or as expected?
Inauguration Day kind of reminds me of what we got going on up here right now. It's colder than Melania's heart when she's around the taco. And it's just been like that's how the whole year. It's just how the whole year's been.
Yeah.
I think things actually are worse because the first time around, we did have some people with conscience. You know, we had a couple of generals that surrounded themselves and tried to keep the taco in line. All the guardrails are off and the blatant corruption is in your face. They don't even try to hide it anymore.
Not a bit.
So it's worse than I thought.
Yeah, I think that the corruption in your face is part of the plan because it's just getting everyone numb to it and to normalize it. So then it just becomes acceptable. We expect it and we just, pass over it. Just keep moving forward.
Can you imagine any other president in our lifetime get by with this shit? Any other president?
No. But it's part of a long plan. I had a Substack that I read over the weekend that kind of outlined the 50-year plan of, the Federalist Society and the conservative movement in the U.S. to get to this point. And we are at the autocratic, the middle of an autocracy, barely hanging on to democracy that they foresaw decades ago. And we are here. We're smack dab in the middle of it.
And this is all compliments of your senator, Mitch McConnell.
Mitch McConnell.
Yeah, Mitch McConnell
right.
And Roger Ailes are the two architects of all of this. So
that is
thank
absolutely
you, Mitch,
correct.
And you can just stay in Kentucky. You are not welcome here.
The good news is we have a lot of really good candidates stepping up to take that seat. It is open, and I feel really good about it. I really do.
Well, good. Good. As long as we get somebody good in there, because I'll tell you what, I have some choice words for poor little Mitchie McConnell, but I will keep them to myself since this is a Kentucky podcast.
I think our audience probably has a pretty good idea and shares most of them with you. That's for sure.
I'm telling you.
Well, the year started out, pretty much as we all expected because this wasn't the first Trump rodeo and the executive orders, flying so quickly. Trump has issued over 225 executive orders this year. And for comparison, Biden issued only 162 in 4 years. So we're at the pace of 8X with Trump.
That just goes into that whole corruption you were talking about.
Absolutely. I think part of the brilliance, actually, of what Stephen Miller, because that's really our president, our shadow government, he and Russell Vought, I think the brilliance is they are shoving so much, so fast, knowing how slow it would take the judiciary to act, how slow it would take Congress to act. It's just they're bulldozing it through because there is so much. So you can't fault them on. They kind of thought this through how they're going to do it. And they right now, only now are we putting on the brakes because they've been pretty damn successful this past year.
And again, because we don't have a Congress. With these executive orders, he's completely circumvented Congress. And they're letting it happen because A, they don't have the gumption to stand up to him. Either
gumption? That wasn't what I thought you were going to say.
Or they're terrified. You know what? I'll let Mamaw say that piece. But I think that either they don't have that or they're just terrified.
Well, the
Absolutely
problem is we've got a Louisiana gelding. Since y'all are from Kentucky, our horse breeders will understand it. We got a Louisiana gelding trying to act like a stallion in the pasture, and it ain't working.
Yeah, and like you said, I think they flooded the zone, right? Everything was coming fast and furious. He started out, he pardoned the J6ers, then the tariffs, and then the Gulf of Mexico was renamed. They made ICE, and I know that you've covered a lot of these issues from your porch, but I really can't see where any of these did anything to help the average American living in places like Appalachia or Kentucky. Can you find one? Can you find one bright spot in there that helped your community?
I'll tell you what, I lost sleep worrying about Argentina. I couldn't sleep. We got those tariffs and we lost all those contracts, and I was fine with that. But bless their hearts to bail out Argentina so that we really undercut our farmers and our producers, and then to make sure that our beef farmers got a double whammy by bringing in that stringy ass Argentina beef. That's where he did us all a favor. I just can't wait to get a chainsaw out to cut up that Argentinian beef. And if you've ever had it, it's stringer and all, because their pasture's not good. So, yeah, I just think that's the greatest thing he ever did for us, is to undercut our farmers and our ranchers,
and then bail them out.
Yeah.
The bailout, though, is only going to go to the corporate farmers. I mean, a $12 billion bailout is a pittance. So
yeah, what did you find on Natalie? We did that on our podcast 1 or 2 back. It was $150,000 per household or per farm, and some of these farms have lost $1 to $2 million just this year alone. You know, I mean, it's a pittance.
It's not going to do. But on the other hand, people need to start taking seriously. They bought into the crap.
Yes.
There again, Mitch McConnell spent years and years and years of selling, your vote doesn't count, or, what's one vote. You really need to pay attention to how you're using your vote, because that's our superpower. And so all these people that just got ticked off and I'm going to vote for the taco, well, this is what you got. So when you get that $150 check, or $150,000, dollar check, just remember, I voted for this. So I'm not completely sympathetic.
Yeah, I think that is the perhaps the second edge of the double-edged sword, in that they did everything so fast that it's had in a short amount of time to hit everyone before the midterms. So, we still have another, 8 months before the midterms. So 8 months more damage. So by the time those votes come rolling in, it's not like it happened and the impact wasn't until 2027 or something. So people didn't quite realize it's hitting them now, and it's really going to hit them this year with the one big ugly bill. So hopefully that will bring out the voters.
I think that's where Taco and Mikey Johnson miscalculated. The big bullshit bill, most of the provisions in it that were going to be devastating weren't supposed to hit until after the 26 election.
Right.
But when the government shut down and they discovered, God, we haven't financed and extended the tax credits for our health care premiums, I think that really laid bare just what kind of position we're going to be in January. People are really going to get hammered when those premiums come up, because they have done nothing to fix it.
Yeah. So with the shutdown and the Democrats getting together and deciding that healthcare was going to be, what they were going to pound on during that period, and it's really become like, one of their platform focuses for 2026, that and
thank God
the
in the
economy.
platform.
Right. Well,
Agreed.
right. Exactly.
Agreed.
So was that strategic by the Democrats, or did it just happen to work out for them because the ACA tax credits rose to the top as a glaring risk that everyone now saw for what it was?
Way back when, with the ACA and the expiration date, I think the Democrats had overplayed their hand because they really thought we would still be under Democratic control.
Yeah.
And so when it went over to Taco plus flipping Congress and the Senate, I think the Democrats were more aware it was going to blow up quicker than what Mikey Johnson was. And they have miscalculated their bet too, because they thought more people would still jump in line. Well, it was new 15 years ago. People have now gotten to appreciate it. They like it. They're comfortable with it. It's done wonders for rural hospitals. So I think the Republicans miscalculated, but so did the Democrats, because they didn't think this was going to come to a head. They really thought we would still be in the White House when that came due again.
Yeah.
And that was a really good point, too, about just all of the miscalculations that went on there. Across the board, and for not messaging, as you said, have that platform. Where's that platform? Where has it been?
And they still aren't really being clear. I think that's why it's important for people like us to do what we're doing, because at least people are getting an idea. This is what's going to happen. This is why it's important. This is how it will affect you. The organized party still hasn't really gotten it together with a cohesive message on that. They're trying. They're doing a little bit better, but I think that's why what we're doing is important.
Yeah, I would agree. And it's pretty funny that affordability has become the word of the day, the word of the moment. And even 2 or 3 months back, nobody was saying that. I actually think it was Mamdani who was the first one who said affordability. And now all of a sudden it's picked up as the theme that everybody's grabbing a hold of, and it has a lot of grip. So affordability in healthcare, that's what the Democrats are starting to lean towards. And I hope they can really coalesce, because I think that's a winning formula.
It absolutely is. Just, if nothing else, just those two issues. That's it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the problem is they, sorry, go on, Ryan.
Well, I was just going to say, I know that we want to hit the Doge stuff at some point too, Natalie. That's one of your favorites.
I was going to say, they did all these cuts, right? But it's not helping anyone. You had Doge and Elon on ketamine with his chainsaw, and ultimately it was a huge failure. Their goal was to reduce federal spending by $1 trillion before October.
Was that really their goal?
But either way, it went up. We spent 3% more this year. And all the things they cut hurt people. Hurt real people.
Okay, here's my take on Elon Musk and what's going on. Let's back up here. Elon Musk and Peter Thiel were raised in apartheid South Africa. Peter Thiel is an avowed Nazi sympathizer. He makes no bones about it. He thinks that a lot of what the Reichstag did was good. Elon's father was very much a Nazi sympathizer. That's why he couldn't get Canadian citizenship, but they allowed Elon to get Canadian and U.S. citizenship. So let's back up here. Elon has heavily invested not only in cryptocurrency, but also in artificial intelligence, as is Peter Thiel's company. There is information that sits within the U.S. government they need. So to get the edge, remember, Musk was Taco's benefactor, and Thiel is J.D. Vance's benefactor. So Elon got the edge. He convinced Taco to let him come in to save money. But what he really wanted and what he got was admission into our Social Security information and the Treasury information. What he did, because he has a lot of government contracts, is the people that he cut in the 250,000 employees were the inspectors general, people that had lifelong jobs and would have been the guardrails, people who would have looked over the shoulders of the Doge boys. All of a sudden, he's gone. He's done. These 20-somethings now. Where's that information? Who has control of that information? Where is it sitting? And where did it go? And I cannot believe we have had 0 hearings on finding out who has our information, what was the purpose of getting that information, and where is it now? So that's what I think the real purpose of Doge was. I think Elon convinced Trump to let him in. It was nothing to do with saving money, because you're right, we've spent more. Nothing to do with that. He needed that information for his AI edge. That's what Mamaw thinks, but I'm just an old dumb hillbilly.
Well, it wasn't to cut expenses, cut costs.
No,
that's
it was
for sure.
not.
And it was kind of funny that immediately the data sets of the American citizens became the primary focus. But ultimately, it ended up costing. There's some independent assessments that have been done, and the whole Doge effort cost more than it saved, even with the measly 160 billion or whatever the number is that they claimed. It doesn't even come close to covering the costs.
I think it's cost us about $400 billion, and he supposedly saved less than $200 billion. So he doubled our cost.
So in your opinion, do you think Trump just got played? Or do you think he knew and just let it happen because he was getting benefit from it? Or do you think it was just
you can't play someone who isn't in the game. Taco isn't in the game.
Good point.
It's not there. Remember how they say the last person in the room is how he will go. There's nothing there. I'm telling you, you talk to that man after lunch, you're toast. You're done. He's finished. So you can't play somebody who doesn't have anything to play with. I don't think he got played. I don't think he cared.
Well, he's looking at, what's in it for me. So, right. I'm sure there's plenty of dollars he could scrape off here and there for,
As long as he was getting paid to do it, it's just like those pardons. That has become a cottage industry for the Trump administration that goes right into Taco's pocket. Yep. There is a law firm now that is taking stuff directly to the administration, primarily Stephen Miller again. It's $1 million just to get their services, and then they'll tell you what the fee of your pardon is. So when the president of Honduras, who is a drug dealer who has billions at hand, so Taco says, give me 10 million, I'll pardon you. That's chump change.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody cares. They just let this happen. Like, it's not being talked about. This is crazy stuff.
Well, the problem with the pardon power is it's in the Constitution. It's our founding fathers never dreamt in a million years that pardons would be for sale. So that is something that when we get another Congress in there, there's just a lot of things we now have seen can go wrong that they need to tie up those loose ends. They need to codify some things, and they need to tighten up some things, and the pardon's one of them. You can't take the pardon away from the president, but what you can do is make sure that we have a process that it has to go through. And right now, we have had a process because we had better angels in charge of things. But technically, the Constitution doesn't require that.
Yeah. And the Supreme Court ruling, giving the executive the ability to begin to fire independent agencies. And I don't know exactly, are we still waiting for a final ruling on that? Or is, I think they have ruled everything but the Fed for right now? Or where are we at on that?
Over the weekend, they issued some more explanations. I know that Kavanaugh issued another more in-depth explanation as to what he meant as far as what ICE could do. You can't pull people over just because they have brown skin.
I haven't seen that.
I think right now that came out Sunday. It was really strange. I think the weird thing with that is Alito and Clarence Thomas still think they're playing poker with Mitch McConnell. And as long as those two are still on the bench, you're not going to sway that bench.
Right. Yeah.
Which gets into age, term limits. Oh my God. They'll have to take, I tell you what, they're going to have to go in there one day and take their pulse to see if they're still with us. Because them two ain't ever leaving.
Well, okay. In all fairness, we had that with RBG on the liberal progressive side as well.
Yeah, absolutely. She thought she was more important. And listen, people, now Brian and I are retired. I'm here to tell you, you ain't that important. The day you walk out that door, they're fussing over who's going to get your desk. Just get over yourself. When you get to be a certain age, go retire, do something else, and have fun.
That's exactly right. Reality sets in pretty fast when you retire.
It is. It's just like, grow up. You ain't that important.
Yeah. Well, it's so if the Dems are able in 2026 to pull the House and the Senate, and say 2028 we can win back the executive, which I'm sure hope we're doing. That means that Thomas and Alito will be doing everything they can to hang on. So, the Democrats,
I think they've already talked to a taxidermist.
Don't get the appointment. So if the Republicans maintain control, then they'll be trying to get them to retire so they can appoint young, fresh conservatives to replace them and just keep that going for another 20 years.
Yeah, they'll put Kash Patel on there.
I know, right? It's going to be somebody who's insane.
Eileen Cannon. Come on, it's going to be Eileen Cannon.
That woman needs impeached. She's one of many on the list. I think we need to adopt, there again on the Constitution, hate to sound like a nerd, It's actually a worthwhile read for any of you out there. Get a little blue book. It only costs you $1 on Prime. Anyway, there is no set number that's required on the Supreme Court. And we can change the lifetime appointment. That is not in there. You've got to remember back when they said lifetime, your lifetime was over at 50. I mean, if you lived to be 50, you were old. Yeah. So I really like what Pete Buttigieg has proposed, because what it would do in effect is every president is going to be guaranteed a nomination. I think it's like an 18-year rotation, staggered rotation. It's really interesting. And I think something like that would work. And I think something like that is both parties would go for.
Yeah, it does make sense.
And when you were talking about kind of the grift of all of the different things that he's doing, I see another money laundering opportunity, and that's in the ballroom. I don't know what you think about that. I mean, we got dark money going in there. I literally think it's a money laundering scheme. We don't even know who's putting money in there. And I think he literally tore down the White House so that he could have a slush fund.
Well, here's what I think. I think there are other people who may have had that idea, but they had to do something to get Taco entertained during important meetings. So they got out their AI to show off, and they gave him this drawing and a box of crayons. They said, you mark what you want and where you want it. Now, anybody who's even built an addition on a house knows, even a small addition, it ain't going to get done in the timeline he thinks it's going to get done. Just is not happening. And something to that magnitude, and then you're going to have to get matching marble for the outside. You've got to get the permits. You've got to move infrastructure around and stuff. It is not going to happen. That is going to be a vacant lot in through another 2 terms of any given president. Just not going to happen.
Right here.
I think he had a temper tantrum and he got mad and he tore that down thinking, okay, now it's tore down. You got to let me have my way. The money, no, it was just a temper tantrum. Now, conversely, I absolutely agree, Natalie. I want to know if you've got all these, because remember it started out, it was just going to be 200 million. Now we're up to 400 million. Who's donating? And where's the money being kept? Because there again, everybody knows when you get into a building project, a contractor's going to say, where's the escrow? And how do we get our draws? And he's not even paid the guy that tore that down. So, yeah, it's a mess.
Which he's famous for doing, not paying contractors.
Absolutely. So. And that's not going to be done anywhere near 2028.
Well, I think the Historic Preservation Alliance finally stepped in. Too late. And then they're, amongst that review, not only just the permits and what have you done to a historic structure, but the asbestos abatement that wasn't done, and the actual people on the ground who were tearing that down that may have been exposed. There could actually be lawsuits and et cetera brought by them for that as well. So it's definitely going to tie this thing up for a long, long time.
Yeah, it'll be into whoever the next president is. And I'll guarantee it'll get scaled down significantly.
Well, but I also wondered, I had read that, they might try the national security play because of the bunker that's underneath that east wing, and they need that for national security.
Thought about that before they tore it down.
That's right. And that's only if Taco's in it.
But, so all of this started moving, and then he also had all these cabinet positions. And, I'm curious. I know you love them all, Mamaw, from Tulsi to RFK to PD Pie. I guess my question to you is, who's your favorite? And which is most consequential to the nation?
Well, I would like to have PD Pie come and visit me on the porch.
I would love that.
Well, I would love that.
Then I would love to be, people don't understand, but Congress, when they have hearings, they can substitute their time for somebody else. Like a lot of times they'll put a professional attorney in. I want them to get Blondie Pam Bondi, the protector of pedophiles, up there, because we got to talk about, her still violating the law with the Epstein files.
Oh, yeah, that's next.
Oh, yeah.
And I
That's on the list.
I really think they ought to let a bunch of Mamaws do the cross-examination of Blondie. Yeah, much better than having congressmen do it. So she would be right up there with a favorite of mine. Linda McMahon, the wrestling lady. I want to know who in the hell abused her as a child that she thinks that nurses and teachers are not professionals and should not get benefit of federal loans so they can continue their education. and why we're tearing into our education system and why we're going to voucher systems, because I suspect that's all part of 2025.
Yep.
Exactly.
So, yeah, she's a favorite of mine, and she was not on your list.
She was not.
No. I don't know how you missed that.
Well, there's so
Let's
many.
see.
Like, I was trying to tear down the
Ran out of
crazy.
ink.
Like, who's at the top of the crazy list? Who's the
Find
top
me. I think Doug Burgum is the only qualified cabinet member.
Okay.
Little Marco lost his wherever Mikey Johnson's cojones are is where little Marco's are. Is all I can figure, because I'm like, what happened to you?
I can't figure out his. I can't
can't either, because he has ruined his future.
Yeah.
There is nobody that he thinks he's going to use this and roll into running for president.
Yeah.
When it comes to Jimmy Hamill will go the way the wind blows, whatever's going to keep Jimmy Hamill's butt in the sunshine.
He's in town right now. All the up here in northern Kentucky, we've been getting the alerts that the streets are shut down. Yeah, you should come on over. Let's crack into those Epstein files.
Oh, gosh.
Because that happened.
Let's do it. Yeah.
But when we started out, well, this is going to happen. And then we're like, okay, let's do it. And now everybody knows what happened. So what do you think the play is here, Mamaw?
I think, first of all, to all these people who are still defending the taco, now it's a hoax. Now, look, y'all are the ones that kept bringing this up 6 years ago.
Right.
You were the ones that brought it up then. You knew it then. Remember, back in the day, Blondie Pambondi, the protector of pedophiles, was the attorney general in Florida when this came up to be in Florida. And it was her office that took it away from the local authorities who were actually going to do something, who had interviewed all of those survivors, who had the list. They would have sent him up the Hooskow. She took it out of their hands, and she is the one who turned it over to the feds. It was her. And that's a matter of record, and they've reported it, and it just kind of gets dropped off to the side. And I'm like, people, this is significant.
Definitely.
She started it. So we have all that. Then you brought it up and oh, well, no, Taco, you brought it up. It's not a hoax. Prince Andrew got stripped of everything because the king got his mother's records and realized how deep and how serious it was. Because remember, the Queen of England got a copy of all this crap too.
Mm-hmm.
So they knew over there. There's more copies. They've got it over there. It is not a hoax, people. This is not something they brought up. This is not dancing around. And when there's that much smoke, there's fire. It's the same thing with Harvey Weinstein, the same thing with Bill Cosby, same thing with Diddy Combs. All of these people, when there is that many people don't get their stories together. It's a fact. It's a matter of how deep and how much he knew. If there are Democrats in there, they ought to fry just like anybody else. Any man that assaults or abuses a child, and they are children, I don't care what their bodies look like. I don't care that they said, oh, okay, because they didn't know any better. They are children. They need to be held account. I don't give a shit who it is. Excuse my language. Number one. Number two, Ghislaine Maxwell and Pam Bondi are as bad as the men who actually did the assault because they knowingly covered up and abetted them and allowed it to happen. And I think Pam Bondi is a freaking fool, and she needs to read her history. We sent John Mitchell to prison for a cover-up. Mm-hmm. By the time we seat a new Congress, it'll be 2027. By the time you have congressional hearings and stuff, we'll be into our presidential year. And she's betting no matter what that the taco will pardon her. You cannot pre-pardon someone for a crime they have not been charged with. If they're smart, and we got some really smart attorneys in Congress like Dan Goldman, mm-hmm. I think they will wait. And as soon as that 2029 rolls around, you're still in the statute of limitations, and they can charge her for obstruction, if nothing else. She better pay attention, because her ass can go to prison just like John Mitchell did. How's that for my take?
That's a pretty good take. You don't think Donald Trump will protect any of them?
Well, he's going to try to do blanket pardon. Well, no, he will. No, seriously, he's going to try them blanket pardons. he's going to pardon him, which wouldn't be wise. I don't think Ghislaine Maxwell should be sitting in a minimum security prison feeling real comfortable and cocky. Huh?
Guarantee it.
Listen, if she doesn't testify the right way, I don't think she is in a very comfortable position. I'd rather be in a maximum security position right now than where she is.
That's for sure.
Because a lot of people decide to take their own lives that have been around this situation.
Well, I like the way that Bill Clinton responded to the initial rollout with his pictures. They kind of slanted it towards him, and then he comes out, or his spokesperson, and said, "Hey, don't dribble this out. We want to see everything that's got Bill Clinton's pictures on it. Anything with him in it, immediately release it. It needs to be out in public. We've got nothing to hide." I mean, that is calling the bluff right there.
And the thing that really bothers me, the way they're dribbling it out, that act is very succinct and specific. The only redactions that are allowed are the names of a victim or a specific incident, not name, incident that is involved in national security. So what's this whole redaction deal and what's taking time? You just literally run it through a scanner to look for, you load up. See, this is the other thing. She thinks we're all stupid. And I know how technology works. It's that really that simple, people.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the hesitation is, other than Taco's in there, I think, a whole lot more than anybody realizes. And I think selling those girls was part of the way he got money, but it was his blackmail organization. I think there are so many photos and videos out there that they haven't really sat down, and that was how Epstein made his money, because initially his only client was Les Wexner.
Right.
And the difference, I think, that when we have these conversations, when I talk to defenders of Trump, like these really hardcore Trumpers, everything is circumstantial. And as you said, where there's this much smoke, there is fire. And the other difference is you and I and every single non-Trump defender that I've talked to have said, I don't care if it's a Democrat, I don't care if it's a Republican, nail them all, burn them down. You don't hear that from Trump defenders. You just don't hear it.
No.
And it's just defending him no matter what, no matter how much this Lake Michigan thing comes out. Oh no, it's just constant. Oh no, this isn't real. This isn't real. I don't understand. Where's your cognitive thinking?
Yeah. How do you keep tying yourself up into a pretzel? And even if he didn't do it, he had knowledge of it, just like Bondi enabling the stuff going on right now. She's just as bad.
Well, he even said, I knew that he was a terrible person. That's why I, quit talking to him.
And he likes him young.
You knew, then you should have reported it.
Well, I was just going to say, we need to come back to basics on this, right? It's Donald Trump. He's said several things that are inappropriate about young women. He's been charged and found guilty of sexual assault. He hung with the guy for 15 years. There's photo after photo after photo after photo of them at parties. And, all these things add up. Talk about where there's smoke, there's fire. I'll just go on record as being confident that he was involved in inappropriate activity with underage girls. I believe he was.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think there's no question in my mind. And the other piece of it is he was involved in the money that Epstein was making, because wherever there's money, Trump's going to be in there and he's going to get his piece. I mean, that is his MO since day one. He came out of the womb trying to figure out, how can I make money without actually having to do any work myself? So that's who he is. And we can't forget that. And I now believe that the drip, drip, drip and the redaction issues and everything about these Epstein files is only going to make it worse. I mean, this is really, honestly, I still believe it's going to be the downfall of Trump, because there's really no good way to handle it. And once it's all out, whether it's drip, 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 or it's a one big release, there are going to be crimes discovered that he is going to have to be impeached for. I think finally, even Republicans are going to say, I can't defend this, Republicans
and even
in
with the
Congress.
Supreme Court, when they said that he couldn't be found liable, it was for things that he did as president.
Right on.
It's nothing to do with past crimes. And
he already tried that with Stormy Daniels and it didn't work, right?
Yeah, it did not work. So,
right.
And I think a lot of it's by design. I think the drip, drip, drip is so that people quit asking about it. I have a friend of mine who just loves Trump, but she's like, this is my breaking point. Epstein is my breaking point.
Right.
And so I asked her, so what do you think about that? She's like, oh, they released everything and it's fine. And I'm like, but that was the point. That's the point of saying, oh, we released 100,000 and here's a picture of Clinton. Right. That's the point.
I think that's the other thing. They're shocked that Democrats are all saying, well, yeah, release it, because if a Democrat was doing that, they ought to be, sent up shit creek without a paddle too.
No mercy whatsoever. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're seeing cracks. So I guess if we can pivot to kind of like some good stuff. I mean, even in May, Trump and Elon broke up in May. And in June, we saw our first No Kings March. And then we saw more No Kings marches. And people, now we're winning. We're winning in all of these special elections, we being Democrats. I think that it's the drip, drip, drip of this or that. It's my groceries are too expensive. It's the Epstein. I lost my job, whatever it is. I think people are now like, it's hurting now. So it gives me a little bit of hope. I don't know if you feel the same way.
Come on, Mamaw. We need you, baby.
I have a lot of hope, and I'll tell you why. We were a little bit late to the party, and here's why the polls have always been wrong. Pollsters have never figured out how to tap into online communities. People, because of the way the media is now being controlled and bending the knee and become so corporate, they are distrustful. What Taco and his bunch did brilliantly in 2015, and you got to give them credit here, is they figured out this online community and getting the message out, and everybody is up here above water and they're in submarines and they have a whole nother thing going on. We've now tapped into that, and people are coming up. They're showing up. They're going to the No Kings because they have finally figured out they are not alone. There are more of us that think the way we do than them, but they were so in your face, the big MAGA parades and stuff, so out of the norm that everybody thought, oh God, nobody thinks like I do, or everybody's changed. And so we just quietly got back into the shadows. And I think now that we have developed progressive online communities and safe spaces for people to vent, that when these No Kings events happened or any of these protests, just the turnout has been phenomenal. And it's because people realized I am the majority. This is how people think, and I'm not going to be silent anymore. So I have a lot of hope that people are learning to use their voice again, that it's important, that they aren't alone, and they can reach out and find accurate information because they don't trust the mainstream media anymore. And frankly, I don't either. And everything that I put out, I double check, sometimes triple check, because I do not trust the fact that the Ellisons own CBS now. I don't trust the fact that the Taco has managed to blackmail organizations into giving him money or apologies. I don't like the fact that they can take a comedian off of the air. Well, they found out that the power of the purse goes two ways. So I think people are finding out they do have a power, just like boycotting CBS right now. It's not going to take them long to really start feeling it. And I think Barry Wise needs to go. She was put in there to completely change the landscape. And then that little stunt she pulled with 60 Minutes is going to do them in. And I think it's because of podcasts like this and what I'm doing and stuff where people are like, oh, I found people that think like I do. And they show up. So I have hope. See, don't you feel better?
Oh, I do feel better.
As long as we draw breath, we have fight in us. And as long as people understand that together as many, one powerful voice, they will be fine. They will show up. They will respond. And I think we're the ones that are going to shock them in the next election cycle.
Well,
that's good.
I think I just found out that all I really need is a kitty cat in my lap, a cup of tea, and Mamaw.
And show up. No, you got to show up. I have assignments.
Mamaw, tell me how it's going to be okay. I totally agree with you. I mean, we've talked about No Kings and, just the turnout there and just the spontaneous activism that's happening wherever there's an event, people pushing back against ICE and actually turning them away from trying to do forced deportations on the street, and people find their voice and the courage. Courage is contagious, and it is definitely happening everywhere. Yeah.
And
So,
I was real proud of what they did here in the Buckeye State where ICE was concerned when they
yes,
hit
sir. In
Columbus.
Columbus. Yes,
They
sir.
found out what hotel they were at, and the police department said you have a right to protest and did not stop it. And all night long for 3 nights. Fourth night, the hotel management told them they couldn't stay there anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. The mayor coming out and
So
said, we are not helping was huge. I mean, right on. We need more and
the
more of that.
Catholic bishops coming out, I think, was
Yes.
astounding. We
Yeah.
just got to keep JD away from this new pope.
That's what I was going to say.
I like Pope Leo.
Yeah.
For God's sakes, keep JD away.
Yeah. Not allowed to visit.
Even though he's a White Sox fan, I still love the guy. I think he's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? We'll have to check in with you after the 2026 midterms, and maybe we'll just come on your porch.
Oh, you're going to have to do it more than that. We got to talk after
Yeah, I
the
think we
big
need to.
primaries.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because we're doing lots of candidate interviews. So yeah,
I am too, but
yeah. Uh-oh.
Come on now.
some
Not quite
states.
up to the caliber that you're hoping for.
No, that's not it. Some state parties, I'm not naming a state, aren't as enlightened as the bluegrass state. And they still tend to overly put their thumb on the scale before a primary.
Gotcha.
And that's what makes things blow up in your face.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they just haven't gotten the memo. So I'm not real hopeful for some states, but others. And then this movement, I don't mean to hog up your time,
Yep, great.
but we have a lot of really good veterans who were former JAG officers running as independents. They're very, very left-leaning, but they're running for independence in states where a Democrat would have no hope and they're not getting any support from their party. And they're actually ahead. And I've interviewed 3 of them, and I think they've got something going on. So we could have an independent coalition along with Angus King and Bernie Sanders in the Senate that would stop this loggerheads we get into. So it's a really interesting movement I've been watching and interviewing on.
Veterans across the country. Veterans are stepping up. I mean, just for this Senate seat, we have three vets running, and then we have some others for some local offices here. They are stepping up big time.
So I think that will be our salvation. And the fact that, and I have a very close friend that shocked me, but for some reason, because a handful of veterans tended to run uber Trumper, I won't even say conservative. I have no problem with a genuine conservative.
Right.
But
Same.
I think what has shocked him is most retired veterans who have been there for a long time, the general public, is that they are progressive. And I had someone ask me why that is. And I said, because when you're an officer or a senior NCO, you realize you've got to help your troops file because they need food stamps or they need help or they didn't have a good family circumstance. And so you've got to kind of mentor and parent, and you understand why these programs are important, or to get their spouse educated. And I think people don't realize the whole gamut that a senior NCO or an officer takes on. And that's why a lot of these senior officers are retiring and then running. And when they run, they're running progressive.
It's great.
Because they understand these programs are important.
100%. Well, let's do it then. We'll have to get with you before the midterms then.
You better.
And thanks so much for coming on and lending your insight. We appreciate it so much. It's so fun.
I have a lot of fun with you guys too. So get a hold of me in the spring.
Will do.
All right, we will.
Thanks much,
Take care, Mamaw. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Well, Brian, I don't know about you, but I feel hopeful going into 2026, despite all of the chaos that the Trump administration has brought onto the country. There have been some really positive things that has happened, especially right here in Kentucky.
Yeah, this is true. No Kings rallies have proven to be an outlet for people's collective outrage and has really sparked a grassroots movement that has motivated people from all across the Commonwealth and the country to get involved by either running for office or to start knocking on doors.
Yeah, and luckily or thankfully, there are leaders out there like Governor Beshear fighting for us. Among the many things that he has accomplished throughout this year and his tenure, he took Trump to court and won back federal funding that he tried to snatch away from us the people to pay for his billionaire tax breaks.
Yeah, that's right. Thus far, he fought to bring back $96 million taken from Kentucky schools, $21 million taken from Kentucky homelessness prevention, another $21 million taken from disaster prevention and rebuilding, and $9 million taken from AmeriCorps public service projects.
Yeah, and that's real money that was already appropriated to us. So the fact that Governor Beshear actually had to go to court to get this back is one thing, but thankfully, again, that he was out there fighting for us for sure. And if we look right here at the grassroots efforts that we made in Kenton County alone, I just wanted to do a quick little recap. We could toot our own horn once in a while.
Yeah.
The Kenton Dems, exactly. The Kenton Dems hosted 23 community events to get people engaged and to empower local Democrats. We've built a really solid volunteer training infrastructure that we're going to have in place to help support all of the candidates that are going to be running locally and statewide. We welcomed 14 new executive committee members and 42 new precinct officers. And if you listen to the Blue Dot, we know that is real grassroots organization right there.
That's right. That's where the rubber hits the road, baby.
Absolutely. Politics on your porch. And it really makes a difference. But, we also had new leadership for the Kenton County Democratic Women's Committee and the Kenton County Young Democrats. We have candidates who filed. We're really fired up. And of course, we launched the Blue Dots. Cheers to you, Brian, for making it to the end of the year with the Blue Dots.
Couldn't have done it without you, Natalie.
Looking forward.
And the good news, looking forward to another year. Yeah, next year is going to be wild. I'm glad you're here with me to work through it together. And the good news is this type of momentum is happening all across the country, as we've seen. And if it keeps up, we're going to see big wins in 2026. If there is one thing we've learned from 2025, it is that activism matters more than ever. And as we head into 2026, keep organizing, keep voting, and keep being visible.
That's what's going to win it for us, Brian. That's how we are going to grow the Blue Dot. So with that, we will conclude your Blue Dot year in review. Until next time, as always, stay curious, keep the facts in focus, never stop fighting for what matters. Peace out, everybody.